What's up, everybody? Another episode in the books, in the making. Got Kchris Griffin here. That's me. Horns Down Podcast. You got Chris Mason, Mr. Sooners 360 himself. Go down to the bio and you can find the link to his Patreon. You got the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast with Jason and the coach. Jason is in the mother house tonight. Okay, so the crew is back together. Sooner Intel Squad. You know that we're gonna come here, have some good laughs, talk about some good stuff, talk about more news and all the rest of that stuff. Fellas, how you guys doing?
I'm doing good.
All right.
Like Crucifix says, I'm alive. I'm here. I'm good though. Good.
All right. So, Jason, we didn't really get your. I know that you've had some other shows and stuff like that, but we're here together. So go ahead, man. Just kind of start us off tonight with what were your initial thoughts about getting that center from Stanford, and then getting Jaden Ott, obviously from Cal, going and poaching some key players from the ACC.
Yep. He's on the heater, man. He's on the heater right now. It's looking really good for Jim Nagy and what he's going to bring to this program. In my opinion, it's just something that we've been expecting this, and this is the kind of the way that they're going to go about things. But it just, you go get a guy that I don't know that he's even a backup center. It looks like he might be the center. Once he gets going, we'll kind of wait and see how that all turns out. But to me, I think that you go and you add a guy like that, and then you go and you add a guy like Jaden Ott. If this guy's healthy at all, he's just another one of those guys that you see, and you've seen it at this level too, at the Power 5 level. He did it against the best teams in the Pac-12 whenever it was still the Pac-12. He was lighting it up. And he can take it to the house on kick returns. He can take it to the house. He's one of those one cut and gone guys. It's like whenever that hole opens up, he's patient, but when that hole opens up, he's in it. So I'm excited about that. I mean, you get a guy like that in a room that we already feel like is super strong. With a lot of young guys, you start looking at X-Rob and obviously, you still got some of the older guys in there as well. But when you look at X-Rob and you look at a guy like Torrey Blaylock that we know has been super impressive to everybody throughout the spring, I'm excited about what this running back room is starting to look like. And the people that think that the Oklahoma offensive line all of a sudden is going to be trash, you better think again, because it looks like they're really starting to kind of bring it all together. And it's exciting, man. It really is. It's exciting. So I love seeing it, and we're hearing a lot of good things about some of the guys that he's bringing in right now. And this is what you brought him in for, right? This is why Jim Nagy's here, is to go and identify talent. And when you start looking at Jaden Ott, I mean, he was talking about him last year headed into this, at this time that it's one of those guys he can't wait to bring to the Senior Bowl type of deal whenever he was still there. So, just excited about where you're headed, man. It's excited about where you're headed. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, are starting to take notice of what's going on. You got the number one quarterback in the portal. You got the number one running back in the portal. I think you're heading in the right direction. And then I saw something today about Kendall Daniels that got me pretty hyped up too. So I think that Oklahoma's hit a grand slam in this transfer portal year. The whole from the end of the wintertime portal to now, they're just hitting bombs. So I love it. All
right. Well, we can't do a pod regardless if you're here and not get your feedback on what's going on. So there you have it. Jason's final word on that whole thing. So let's jump to the super chat. Ben G with another $10. Good evening, fellas, and horns down. Appreciate that, Ben G. Looks like we both are eating this portal window. I saw the wide receiver. I saw some of the additions you guys have made. I think slowly but surely, definitely interested to see what Sark is going to do, especially with some of the exits and different things like that. But Chris Mason, man of the hour right now. We have people in here talking about all the stuff that they've heard, that the Missouri State tight end is going to be at OU at some point. I know people are really excited about, have talked a lot about the Cal guy. Maybe that's kind of it's a Texas backyard now, as far as the ball's on their side of the court. You hear about the kid from Ball State, the one that everybody is calling soft, but had 92 receptions or whatever. I don't know. But Chris Mason, kind of, what are your thoughts about the next moves in the portal for OU for Nagy and crew?
So we need to focus on the we're going to overuse a term, right? So if competitive depth is Brent's overused term, the Nagy term is difference maker, right? We're looking for difference makers. So OU's not going to just sign anyone unless they are a difference maker, someone with NFL measurables who Nagy thinks is an NFL prospect. That's the portal targets we're looking at. So in Nagy's evaluation, Jake McCool, he thinks he's a second, third round potential pick at offensive center, at offensive line. And you look at his measurables, he's 6'5", 300 pounds, right? And we know what Nagy thinks about Jade Knott. Jason just referenced it. It's the tweet he made last year. Everybody, if you have not watched Jade Knott film, go watch 2022 and 2023. He is kicking ass on some suck-ass Cal teams. And at running back, that's difficult. If you're the only playmaker at running back on a bad football team, it's hard to get the kind of yards he's talking about. But I think what we're going to see next is, obviously, it's out there on Twitter that Lance Mason, the tight end from Missouri State, is visiting. He had about 600 yards last year. He's 6'4", 240, good two-way tight end. I think the Andrews kid is probably going to end up at Texas. Texas is throwing a lot of money around at a tight end. A little surprised about that. Obviously, they lost the was it Helms? What's the name of that guy?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They lost that guy to the draft. But I thought they were recruiting better at tight end than we were, and I kind of had a little more momentum at tight end. So I'm a little surprised for them going for a portal tight end, but they're focusing on the Cal guy. I think that's a Texas-Indiana battle, and OU's going to focus on Lance Mason. Also, they're kind of kicking around looking at Gavin Hoffman, the Iowa freshman, who I really liked out of high school. His high school film's good. I kind of like OU to be bringing in a Mitchell replacement in a development tight end. Of course, we don't know. It's hard to know where OU views Trene Washington's spring as. I think Trene had a pretty good spring overall. I mean, we know he's not ready to play, but if his dev is starting to go, that could impact that. But I think there's a good chance they stand pat at cornerback and at wide receiver, because the guy they liked, Xavier Lloyd, his sticker went too high for OU. Nagy's not overpaying, right? If he has salary cap money, he's just not going to waste it. So unless there's a wide receiver that comes in that I think maybe checks the boxes of what they want to do, I think the injury news on Giovanni Gibson is better than Brent was kind of hinting at that it was better than we've done, better than thought, right?
Yeah,
better than what we were hearing. We were hearing 6 to 8 months, and he could be gone for the year. It doesn't sound like that, and based upon watching Kendall Dolby run around at the Crimson Compound in various footage, and hearing he's been ready for about a month to 6 weeks, that they've just held him out completely, then I think maybe Giovanni Gibson has a better chance of playing. And I think at cornerback, I heard that Devin Jordan, Jacoby Johnson, Guillory, and Newcomb all had good latter half of springs. That those guys were making plays. They were looking good. Didn't hear so much about Tristan Haynes, and that's because I think he needs to add a little weight. But Guillory, Jacoby Johnson, Newcomb was making plays in a couple of scrimmages I heard about. He was making a lot of plays. He's a good athlete. And then Devin Jordan as well, and Jacoby Johnson, was kind of the quiet guy. And again, OU is pretty sure that they've got the Gentry Williams situation fixed. That Gentry was out. Gentry was out there all spring, working out, looked fantastic. They're just holding back on that, on the hitting stuff, because why take that risk in spring? And they were risk averse in spring, despite the Gibson injury. They've been pretty risk averse. They've been sitting guys down. Like MJJ got banged up, they sat him down. They kind of sat PJ down for the last week because he had made so much progress this spring, and Taylor Wine was making a move, and they wanted to give Taylor Wine as much reps, and Okoye and some of the other guys. So I think Chris, what we need to prepare is the only guy I think OU might add at wide receiver will be Kenyon Brown, the JUCO wide receiver, the original commit to OU back in 2023 to that's right. Is it 2023? That sounds right. It was 2024. Yeah. I think they're going to stand pat, because if they can get Giovanni Gibson back, and they like what Zion Kearney had a good spring. Manny Choice did much better than they thought. Elijah Thomas was doing really well. Someone's asking about Terrell Davis, the UCO kid. He's heading to OSU. That's what at least George Story was indicating on their podcast recently. And I've not heard of, to be honest, I'm sorry. I'm Chevalier Karate Brenson is a brand new name to me. I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with that guy.
State, I think a lot of people, he caught some buzz early on.
All right.
I think he got some.
So, a guy I think you could see pop up, and this is purely speculation on my part, is Hakeem Williams from Florida State. Just hit the portal. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. Everything out of high school, not really getting going at FSU last year. And then, lots of reasons why. Because FSU just maybe had a worse offense than us, and maybe worse quarterback play than us. So I think there's a chance, unless there's an elite guy at cornerback, I think OU may stand pat. And that has to be a veteran guy, right? Because they like all their young kids. They don't want to bring in another young kid from a class, numbers-wise. They want to bring in a veteran elite guy at cornerback, and that's just not showing up in the portal so far. Tight end, I think if they could get Lance Mason, or maybe this Gavin Hoffman, I think that would be a good fit.
Where's Hoffman from?
He's from Iowa, but he's from Kansas City originally. He's a 4-star recruit, top 150 out of high school. Really good film, 6'5", 240, 245, big frame, looks great on the hoof. He's obviously been blocking at Iowa, So hey, Jimmy Satterfield. So I think there's a chance that OU could stand pat at a couple of positions. We thought they would make a move just because of the lack of a true difference maker. And Nagy is slotting everybody with numbers, right? Slotting everybody in terms of where he sees them. So his evaluation team, and he kind of let it leak in an interview. He's got 5 guys working for him right now. I don't see OU touching Javante Cook with a 10-foot pole. I'm sorry, Sooner Cowboys. I don't believe that rumor right there.
I just put that out there for that.
I wouldn't. I don't buy that. I don't see OU trying to bring that negative energy into their wide receiver room. I just don't see that. But I think this is where we are. The home run hit was Ott, right? And the number one personnel need on the entire roster was backup center, right? And you got both. Boom, boom. Got the guys you wanted.
Yeah.
I think the kicking is a big. I think kicking
is not happening.
Yeah, the kicker thing. They got Mason Shipley on campus. I think they might spend more money on a kicker than we would think. If you think about an NFL roster, right? Nagy's Nagy's got that GM experience, and you cannot go to war with a bad kicking game, right? NFL guys and you can't cut kickers and hold tryouts in college. So I think if they could get Mason Shipley, I think they'll add him to the kicking mix and maybe tell someone else to depart. But I would say kicker, tight end. I don't know. At cornerback and wide receiver, I'm not hearing so much. So
I got to jump in here real quick because I think that's the issue for me. 1 second. I think that's the issue for me. We got to go get a wide receiver. We got to bring at least one in for insurance, and hopefully that could be a premium guy. I think the Hakeem kid that you talked about from Florida State, obviously he has all the intangibles, the height, the size, all the rest of that stuff. We kind of know what pedigree he came and all the, accolades and everything and stuff like that he came to Florida State with, and it just didn't work out. I don't know. Regardless, though, I kind of think that you got to take a wide receiver just for added insurance, because I don't think that Javonte Gibson is going to play the Illinois State game. Hopefully he can. If he can and he's healthy and he's a full go in practice, go ahead. But if not, save him for Michigan or save him for down the line. Jaden Gibson, what's going on with that? Are we seeing the last of him? I see people on the chat talking about, through and saying that he's going to stay, anything like that. Have you heard anything differently? Jason jump in as well. But, I feel like wide receiver is definitely a need. You got to take at least one.
I think I would probably take at least one look, in view of the fact of what we saw. Now, we're hearing a lot of really good things about the guys that are there, and if Javonte isn't going to – I don't know that I would press him back into action week 1. I don't care if he's ready or not. I think that
it just all depends, right? If he's working out August 1st and he looks good and he's able to go through –
yeah, but –
if I'm just saying, Jason, if
getting him ready and working him up to speed, I get it. But
it just depends. But I'm with you. Like if he's out of the boot and it's like August 15th and he's back, then all right, 30 days from there, that's the first game he should play. Let's warm him up and go
get him warmed up. That's what I'm saying, though. I also think that if we're hearing about it. And we talked about this off air, but it looks like Jaden Gibson may not be coming back at all. So they're talking about the possibility of him being a portal guy. You keep hearing that.
I would have said
yesterday. I know. Go ahead.
I would have said 3 days ago. I would have said he was gone, but maybe they've sat down with Jaden, and again we don't know his health picture, right?
Right.
And he's not been around the team as much. That's been said by multiple sources.
That's what everybody's saying, that he's not around much, which
and if he's rehabbing, and all that, I can there's two ways to view that a little bit. But let's just see how that thing shakes out. Let's see how the Taylor Tatum thing shakes out as well. A lot of noise and smoke there. What I heard is that Torrey Blaylock had such a good spring and Taylor's not making a lot of progress in baseball. So there's a rumor that he wants to switch to baseball because that's where he thinks his money is, and he's not making a lot of he's not playing for OU baseball, right? That's everything I've heard. I'm not following that as closely to know, but I don't think he has a stat.
I don't think he's doing anything, no.
I don't think he has a stat for baseball. So that's also in play. I think you'll see probably an offensive lineman leave. OU's depth there. If Ozetta and Howland are coming back,
it's starting to get pretty heavy. Yeah.
It's starting to get a little pretty heavy.
And I've heard that. Yeah, I've been hearing some stuff that there's a possibility that at least for one guy, and I think that they're expecting it too. So
yeah, they need to create some spots. I think if you bring in another tight end, you got to lose somebody from the tight end room.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty clear. You've already lost Mitchell, but I think you got to lose another guy.
But that's what I was going to ask. That I don't think we're at the 105 even right now because of where the additions. So I think if you're going to start adding pieces, we're talking about we need this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. if they're going to go wide receiver, I think you have to probably dump a couple of guys here and there, and depending on where we go, and then as far as corner is concerned, I don't know. I mean, look, is corner a position that you really want to go out there and take a flyer on somebody that isn't really going to be him? Because unless you're out there tampering with somebody that's an SEC type dude has proven that he's that guy or something like that, I don't really want to mess with it.
Well, they don't want to spend the money unless it's a difference maker, right?
Yeah, a difference maker.
And
correct.
There's no one at corner right now. I mean, this guy's hitting the.
Is it 103? Is what Unk's saying? Unk's saying we're at 103. Okay. All right. Well, I'd heard Jay and them talking about like 108, 107 this morning.
Yeah, that number is. Yeah, good luck having an accurate number there, right?
Right.
I just think I think if you like the medical report on Giovanni Gibson, which I think that it's very different than what we thought before. I mean, the kids there signing autographs at the spring game, and he's just got a foot cast. He didn't have his whole leg in a cast, and if it'd been really bad, he wouldn't have been out there. So I don't know. I mean, I think a lot depends upon. Are you going to get anything out of Raggins and KJ Daniels this fall? That's a key question.
And that's the question. I mean, that's the thing. Like Ziaz B. Lou is saying, unless Choice and Manny are the second coming of Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams, you need to get a portal wide receiver. No joke. I'm there's some quality guys out there, and I think that you could see some movement there because with Raggins, with kind of heard some red shirt stuff float out there with his name. KJ Daniels, he can't seem to stay healthy or for whatever the case may be. Obviously, you're kind of top heavy with what you have: Burks, Satania, Giovanni Gibson, Jaden Gibson, if he's healthy and if he's here, then Kearney, Eli Thomas. Then you got Manny Choice. Can't forget Jacob Jordan. So I mean, that's 8 wide receivers right there. But at the same time, you need some difference makers. I mean, the reason why I guess I'm so hell bent on getting a wide receiver is because I think all three of us agree that things are shaping up for BV regardless to have a one more year, right, to get this right. This year he needs to get it right. Maybe have another year. But I think time is of the essence here, people. I think we need to make sure that we're better safe than sorry, because we saw once the season rolled around last year how all that shaped out with just a depleted wide receiver room.
And that's what I was saying. Like, I don't understand the screaming about tight end right now when we've heard so many good things about Canick. And the new guys that have come in that are bigger and maybe they're more of a blocking tight end. Guys, remember that we're talking about a position at Washington State last year that caught, like, it was 8% of the yardage, it was 7.5% of the receptions, and it was like 15% of the touchdowns. We're not talking about a position that they have to have that's so important to this offense being successful. So I don't see that. I mean, what's the real difference maker we're talking about? I guess if you go and get this kid from Missouri State, okay. I mean, fine. But in the end, I think you're going to have to make sure that you end up – but is it your weakness because you want to see us do more of that, Billion, or is it because you think that that's what they want to do? I don't think it's anything that they're that concerned about. I just don't believe it.
Well, I think – again, Nagy's not going to overpay. Is there some elite guy tight end in the portal? No, there's not some. I mean, it's hard finding the guys in high school, as we see. It's
Well, the two guys they brought in, Huggins has been looking good catching the ball and blocking, and then
Kent had a good second half of spring. So
I agree.
If they can find a guy that at the right price point, I got no problem adding a guy. But you got to cut somebody loose. That's all. So.
But I don't think that should be Canick. I think that's the guys.
No. I'm sorry. There are two guys on the tight end room that don't look like they're going to be in. They don't factor in the top 4, top 5, and I think they're no longer redshirt freshmen. or a freshman, and I think it's probably time for them to move on, to be given a situation and move on. But I think it's interesting that we got different opinions here and all that, and it's all about wide receiver. I'm fine with them standing pat at wide receiver. Kicker, I think kicker's the one area I want them to make a move at, right? Based upon everything I've heard, let's get us to make sure we have a new kicker, a better kicker.
Shanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, because with the talent we have at running back, I mean, do I like the idea of Ott and Blaylock in the same backfield, and you're fleshing one out because putting that much speed and using some two-back stuff versus two tight end? That's interesting to me. But I'll on the portal stuff, I'll just give you one other comment from a source of mine. All right. So, one of my sources said that Nagy is the final boss now at OU. If you're watching anything on wrestling, that reference will mean something to you. He's the or you play any video game, he's the final boss. Nagy is making the majority of these decisions. He's reviewing the roster. We have a real GM really pushing things. Tristan, those guys were not bagging on the tight end room so much the last time I heard them talking about it. If you could add a tight end who moves the needle, I think you do that. But the question is, can you? Everybody wants tight ends, like Texas, Bama, Georgia. Everyone's looking for tight ends. So OU's also competing in that space. But if you can find somebody who moves the needle, is better than what we have in there, that's your evaluation, then, and upgrades the position, then make the move. At tight end, that's the problem I have. I'm not sure who you find right now. That
the good tight ends, the best tight ends in the country, don't go in the damn spring portal.
No, you're right. They don't. And not the elite ones. You're right. But if they can find a guy who upgrades the position, right? You take a look at who we have, and Nagy says, this guy is better than the guys we have, and you can find him to make him fit the dollar number where you've evaluated. Make that move. Otherwise, stand pat, Jason, right? Don't just grab it.
I don't think that if we're gonna add insurance, I think you should add it in the receiver room.
Okay. So is Keon Brown, if you're convinced his grades are good, is that enough?
Has he graduated from JUCO?
Well, he needs, it's second semester still. It's only April.
Yeah, listen, man. I mean, well, let's be real about what's.
I mean, guys, are they going to class anyway? I mean, can we just, stick him in there for a year? And
I think that you need to go to school if you're a football player, but the way that college football is right now, I don't know that it's a prerequisite anymore.
I mean, guys are transferring 3-4 times. How many credits are they just stripping away and losing in these processes?
True.
I mean,
that's a kid. That's a kid. He's gonna have to live in the AC, the athletic center, and have at least one or two tutors dedicated to him to make sure. And that's not a slight at the kid. That's just the reality of the situation for a lot of college athletes. You'd be surprised
it's not easy for the sharpest kids, especially juggling that in the game.
Well, the schedule's insane, right? So
come on.
You will be surprised, like when you're on when you're on campus, undergrad, how you think, oh well, I'll see I'll see them. You'll see them maybe once every blue moon, but they live over there. That the athletic center most likely is right there, by
bro.
They're locked basically by the locker room inside, whatever the case may be. It's all there centrally located to the point where they don't have to leave campus or anything like that.
So the story I love about the portal is, so the Wisco tight end committed to Houston, and the Wisco coach basically called him Charmin soft in an interview. Basically said that he's leaving because he can't hack it in the Big Ten where real football's going on. And then the rumor going around from the other side is that Wisco's missing their NIL paychecks because they've had more than a couple of kids leave. So I don't know what to make of that, but that's why OU's not making a move with the Kozol kid from Wisco. I mean, again, And you got to look at what's going on with him leaving that quickly. That's kind of a red flag. And Nagy's talked about red flags personality wise. So I would imagine OU's gonna make a move for a kicker. If the Mason thing works out at tight end, the Iowa kid again, he gives you a young developmental prospect, which I kind of like because you've lost Mitchell, right? Who you thought was going to be your young guy moving forward. I think those two guys make sense. Other than that, I'd side with Jason and kind of shut it down, right? Let's not overpay. I mean, the rumor is that Texas is going to pay this Cal tight end $750 or $1 million. So that's how crazy the stuff is flying around. But at wide receiver, the Lloyd kid made way too much sense. But once his price tag went too high, OU basically walked away. So Nagy is imposing some fiscal discipline that we want, right? We want him not to spend money and just get into bullshit bidding wars with folks, right? Like
for what? Just so they can go in the portal next year and they haven't done shit and you paid them a bunch of money? Why?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's what we got stuck with the Washington guy last year, right? The center guard, he got hurt. He left, right?
They're in the portal right now. I didn't even know their damn names. A couple of those corners. I was like, I didn't even know those guys existed.
Well, they were Malaska's a walk-on. OU was thinking they were going to get his brother, is it Bethany? Is that right? Yeah. I think that's right. They thought they would get his brother. His brother's got hurt, hasn't developed, hasn't got any bigger. So that's why the Alaska kid was here. And then obviously David Stone's buddy, he wasn't fitting in at safety. He's not a cornerback in our safety room. He fell behind Wimberly and Omarion Robinson. So that's why he needs to find he's a good kid. He just needs to find a level of football where he can play. So he's not SEC. He's like the old DBs we used to have. He doesn't fit the SEC mold. So and he was a walk-on too. So that's where I think we are. Unless there's a playmaker at wide receiver, and again, the Hakeem Williams guy is someone I would hope EJ would kick the tires with, right? 6'4", 250.
Yeah, Hakeem Williams. I've been hearing about him a lot too.
Hakeem Williams.
Around the country though, there's a lot of people that are looking at him.
Yeah, I mean, again, bring him in, see if it's a personality fit. Say, look, you need 2 years to get, have Nagy sit down with him, tell him where he is. You have NFL measurables. You need to be coached up and developed. Come here for 2 years. This is your money. If you blow it up next year, we'll rip up your NIL contract. Also, guys, one last thing is that there was some NIL price realization done with the OU team, right? Guys basically saying we're given new numbers. Let's just say they're given new numbers retrospective to their actual talent level and where they fit for the OU team. So some guys probably got a harsh reality check money wise over the last 2 weeks. Yeah. I mean, OU was basically throwing too much cash around, and they needed to and Nagy needed to right size what's going on, right? If you're Michael Fasusi, that's your dollar number. But if you're not Mike, you shouldn't be making near what Mike's making. So I would say that you'll see what's but I would say wide receiver, OU could stand pat. Now somebody just sent me something that said, and this is on Parker Thune's paywall, but it's all over message boards, and a couple of message boards I'm looking at. There's a chance Jaden Gibson is now going to stay. So I don't know what's up with that. So do you do two injured Gibsons equal one healthy Gibson in August? I don't know. But we'll have to see what's going on there. But the other thing is, last thing on cornerback, Reggie Powers and Daniels have looked fantastic there at Cheetah. Does that allow you to move Kendall Dolby to cornerback? Play him at corner or something? And and if you can do that, then all of a sudden, that makes everything interesting at cornerback as well, right? That you've got you've got even more depth and and veteran play. Yeah, that's your veteran and that's your player at corner. So That would be interesting. That would be interesting to see as well.
So here's the question. Here's the question on that, because we got to have a little bit of pushback. So as excited as I think all three of us are about Powers, and I think a lot of people on the chat are probably really excited about Powers as well, are we really confident in having him kind of be just thrown in like that first year? Now, I'm not saying necessarily that he shouldn't play. Definitely want the kid to play. If he can run a cheetah spot, that's great.
Who, Reggie?
First year, SEC, pushing Dolby back to corner, all the rest of those different things. That's a key position out there for us. We know that is the Army Swiss knife. That's the jackknife right there. That is as a key position. So I'm just wondering, like, how much do we force feed him? Is that his position that we let him take over, or is that something that you let Dolby kind of steer the ship there until it becomes really a real need at corner for that? Because I think you're happy with your corner room, but I think you just probably would want more experience on the back end.
Well, I was just going to say, what's your
Dolby can play corner. We've seen him play, and he's good enough to do it. I just kind of wondering right now.
He was the number one corner in the portal when we got him out of JUCO, right? I mean, he was the number one portal corner.
Safety out there. I mean, he was playing all over the place at NEO. I mean, his film.
Yeah, his NEO film is pretty awesome.
It models exactly what he's doing right now. Cheetah, that's why he's so natural at it.
But I think that I mean, everything that you've seen out of, and everything that, I mean, I'm just telling you what I keep hearing from Boganowski and stuff like that, is that everything that he's seen is that Reggie's ready. He's ready to go. And so, I trust in that. I mean, he says more about, he's talked more about Reggie than he's talked about his kid. You know what I mean? So, just looking at, and obviously, they're playing kind of different positions and stuff like that, but the expectation is going to be that, to me, I don't know that, I think if you play Kendall Dolby in certain, a lot of it is also sounding to me like Kendall Daniels is going to be making a big impression. It has made a big impression on everybody. I just got a bunch of quotes off of a story that I read earlier that, I mean, everybody's gushing over him, but I think that Reggie Powers is kind of that dude that can play both. He can bring that heat down, whereas the difference with Dolby is yes, he's going to go make that hit, but you don't really want him down in the trenches as much. I think that, when you start looking at what Reggie and then Kendall Daniels can do rushing the quarterback, I think that they've got a bunch of guys that can play, and I think they're going to play them a lot. I don't know that it really matters if you're a starter versus, you're just a rotation piece, because I think they're all going to play in different situations from what it looks like. And with these two guys that are coaching linebackers, I expect that you're going to get a little bit of everything from them. They know what they're doing well, and they're able to kind of get them specializing in some different things as well. I like the situation we're in the safety room more than anything. And, that all kind of works over into what the cheetah is and stuff like that. But I think, look, I mean, you got a guy we're talking 6'5", 240 that, can play pretty much anywhere back there in Kendall Daniels. That feels like the perfect cheetah, but kind of the same that we're hearing about Powers as well. And he's taken to what Wes Goodwin is doing a lot. And so my expectations are, I think if you need help there at the corner position, sure, you could slide him over in certain situations as far as Dolby's concerned. But I also think that if Gentry is in good shape, like we're hearing, and then you've already got, we've heard, I mean, it was just a tweaked ankle is all that we got out of our freshman All-American corner from last year, and then we're hearing a lot of good things about like 2 or 3 different freshman corners right now. So I don't know. Again, that's one of those positions I don't want to go out there and stunt the growth of a guy like Jacoby. If he's starting to come around, I don't want to stunt his growth anymore at that position by going and getting somebody in the portal that ain't worth the shit.
And they're just not gonna do that, right? So I mean, we've heard 0 names at cornerback, right? And it's because Nagy is like, nope. So and Nagy's at every practice, right? So if the cornerbacks are getting better in the second half of spring, he knows that. He knows where we are, right? He and BV are talking constantly about these situations. Where are we and what do we really need, right? And we needed a backup center, and Ott all of a sudden makes that running back room. It makes that running back room significantly better. If somebody is outplaying Ott, then they are an NFL type running back. That's all you have to say. If one of our guys is outplaying Ott, that's the way that goes. But I think Reggie. I think Reggie could take over, half of the Cheetah. I also wonder. This is another discussion. This is more of like a midsummer. We got no other shit to talk about discussion. But how much 3-3-5 stuff do we look at with Reggie? Sorry, with Kendall Daniels, Kip Lewis, and either Kobe or Sam O there, right? So you have.
I don't make a ton. I think you're still.
You see Kendall Daniels at like Sam linebacker, and then behind him you've got 5 DBs, and you've got Reggie or Dolby at Cheetah, at sort of like safety Cheetah or nickelback, whatever you want to call it, right? And you have Dolby.
Yeah, those young guys are going to play, man. They are.
So you do because like a 3-3-5,
and they're run stopper types, and I think that when you start talking about Reggie, he can cover too.
Yeah, so I think there's some different things going on there, but I think we're going to see a kicker just because if I was Nagy watching the kicking in the Crimson Combine, it was a tough day for guys, and maybe they can get better. But I'm thinking I need a kicker. I need a kicker in the mix, another kicker in the mix to see who's going to be the dude.
Well, yeah, you gotta have a dude that can make.
I mean, we're gonna have some close games this fall. We cannot be 70-65% kicking, with those opportunities that we need to win some of those games. So I think that's the kicker is going to be in. And tight end, I just think it's a pure equation. Does this guy upgrade the room? Yes, no. And does he fit the price point that I'm willing to pay? Because I'm not paying $1 million for a guy, right? I'm not paying $1 million. If Jermaine Grisham's in the portal, let me know, and I'm willing to owe you to pay $1 million for him, right? But there are no Jermaine Grishams in the portal. Let's just say that. They're not there. Those guys aren't there. There's no first-round pick guys. But wide receiver is just, it's just, that the damn injury to Gibson just, I see why. I think Keon Brown makes a lot of sense, especially if you get 4 years out of him. Mm-hmm. But the JUCO grade thing is a worry. Hakeem Williams is somebody I'd kick the tires on. We'll see if something else pops up. But everybody thought that Washington was doing a good job getting Cook, and A&M got Mekhi Hudson. So 5-star wide receivers hitting the portal. It's fool's gold, man.
That's true.
But
I don't think they're having any issues with Williams. I haven't heard anything bad about.
No, I haven't heard. I'm just saying that he's just not developed. So at some point, it's like
but I don't think that. I think that they're so used to what. Listen. First off, not to say anything bad about FSU, especially today after everything that's gone on.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Shout out to FSU and prayers up for everybody that gone through all that crap today. But look, we talked about that they've been portal only. This is a place that they haven't been really moving up their guys to that they're bringing in through the high school stuff. They haven't been developing those dudes and making them play. They've been getting a lot of guys in the portal and then just plug. I think that once you saw why I'm slipping on the coach's name. Once you saw him have to do that because he was kind of in trouble.
Norvell.
You've seen that, yeah, Norvell. You've seen them, they've just been super heavy, and yeah, I don't know, man. It's to me, I wouldn't count him out necessarily because you haven't heard anything bad about him or anything like that. I just don't think that he's been given probably the position that they were promising him because they're just so heavy in the portal.
Well, they just and their wide receiver coaches.
And he could also hate the Gus Malzahn offense too, by the way.
Just about to say,
yeah,
the offense is built for a guy like Anthony Schwartz, not necessarily a premier college wide receiver.
So yeah, we'll see how things shake out, right? But I think you got to get a kicker. After that, Get me guys that upgrade the roster. And if you tell me that you like the medical stuff with Gibson, I can handle Kenyon Brown only. But if somebody like Hakeem Williams, a big guy, right? We want to replace like for like, right? So we're losing Gibson, who's what, 6'3", 210, 205, something like that. Mm-hmm. If you can find another big guy to replace him, then I'm down with that. But Nagy's not overpaying, and he's not. If you're not a difference maker or have difference maker potential or difference maker measurables, he's just not gonna waste his time.
Guys, we got to hit 50 likes. We got to hit 50 likes on each page. Come on now. There's like 200 people in here right now.
Jason, just to kind of pivot back just a little bit. Now, again, on that whole, Powers thing, I love that trio. Hardy, Boganowski, Powers.
Hardy too, man. We didn't even say anything about him. We've been hearing really good stuff about him too.
Peyton Bowen better get his foot healthy quick, or he's not going to have a starting job.
I think they're going to be terrific. It's just one of those things where, I think we all love Dolby and we know what he can do. But if he's expendable to where that patches up that fix right there, or that hole, that patches up that hole, as far as just kind of an experienced corner or somebody who could do it at a high level, then that's perfectly fine. It's just one of those things, man. We've heard it all these past couple of years. Oh man, wait till you see this package with Justin Harrington and this guy and that guy, and from there and there, it's just like, will these things ever come to fruition? But it's one of those things where it can't. These guys are healthy. These guys are ready. So, I'm excited to see what's going to happen, because I've been hearing that as well. I know Jay is, from Unfair Sports, obviously Jay is huge on this, on the Powers kids. So listening to him talking to him directly, especially at the Sooners Combine and all the rest of that stuff. I mean, there's big plans for those three. That trio, as I like to call them, I think they're going to get a lot of time this year, and I think they'll make a lot of plays as well. But kind of moving on, what's next on the list, Jason?
Well, Jackson Arnold, kind of, his little cold take about what happened at Oklahoma and why he decided to get into the portal. I don't know that it was as much of a decision for Jackson Arnold as it was for the OU staff. I failed to believe for a second that he was invited back to Oklahoma this year. So
let's get the quote out there.
Let's get the quote out there. Yeah, he said, let me find it here.
I got it teed up.
Tee it up.
Play the first 3 games. We're 3-0. Then go to Tennessee. Well, first off, Tennessee's a home game, Jackson. So obviously you're confused. Your geography, having a geography problem.
Yeah,
then go to Tennessee.
So well in that game that he didn't even know where the hell he was.
Have a bad first half and get benched on why he transferred from Oklahoma to Auburn. So I asked for this topic, so I'll tee it up a little bit here. So
you go ahead, but I've got some stuff I want to throw in there.
Oh, so I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
So if this doesn't speak to why I don't think Jackson Arnold's going to be successful, I don't know what else does. This lack of sort of like responsibility, ownership,
right?
And then, they benched me, so I needed to leave. Cry me a effing river, you pansy ass bastard. Give me a break. Come on. He's not going to win the Auburn job. We'll end up playing Deuce McKnight.
I was fixing to say, I don't even know that he wins the Auburn job, because one of the quotes that I saw today, as a matter of fact, today, was, and this is the one that I wanted to tee up, because this tells you a lot. And this was, what did he say? He's got the arm talent. He's got the legs. He's got the football IQ. I think he just needs confidence. If you are freaking Hugh Freeze and you're still saying this about your new shiny quarterback that you paid $2.5 million to, that seems like a problem, because we know damn good and well that confidence was his biggest issue last year too. He's scared to death. I mean, the dude is shitting down both legs. He is. I'm gonna let me throw a couple of stats out here. The last 11 games at Oklahoma that he played in, he had 12 turnovers, 3 fumbles, or three interceptions in the bowl game. Obviously, he had the fumble in the bowl game. He had 9 fumbles across the last year, and 5 of them they lost. So we're talking about 6, and then he had 6 interceptions total between those 11 games. We're talking 12 damn turnovers in the last 11 games. What else do we even need to talk about? Because we can go back to his, what was it that he had in the in the Tennessee game alone? That it wasn't just a bad game; it was a bad game. He had a 1.2 QBR.
Is that bad?
It's a bit bad. We had the ball. Oklahoma turns them over inside their own territory twice, and he gives the ball back on the next fucking play. What are we talking about? The fact
I just thought it was. I thought it was priceless, man. Like
priceless.
You know,
priceless. Guys,
have a bad first half and get benched. You had a terrible first half.
He's going to be at TCU tomorrow. If you know what I mean, or Texas Tech is. He seems destined for these places. He just does, because I don't think that we know that he was looking over his shoulder from spring on, and it's already happening out there. They've talked about all the turnovers that he's had at spring.
Yep.
Deuce, not one. From what I understand.
Yeah, he's also not like looking at receivers and just running every play as well. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that, you know, I'm more than happy to move on from JFA, but when he brings up crap like this, I was just like, all right, well, we got to have this pod's got to have a little fun at his expense. If he's gonna throw out candy ass lines like that, we got to make him eat it a little bit.
And which quarterback have you ever known that didn't take on all of the responsibility, whether it was theirs or not? The good quarterbacks, they're going to take it all on. They're not going to put it off on nobody else, coaches or otherwise.
Here's where I jump in at, on it. Talking about it, I told him, I said, very, very reminiscent of Spencer Rattler. And I think everybody who watches this pod and everybody who knows me knows, love Spencer Rattler, but definitely sounded like him. We were 5-0, before I got benched, and then, we lost. And it was one of those things where you're like, dude, we almost lost to a really bad West Virginia team that year.
And Tulane. And Tulane.
You had everybody.
2 wins all year.
And I say the same thing for Jackson Arnold. I mean, that's just kind of where I'm at. I think the mature thing to do is just kind of move on, everybody, obviously, and just say, look, I don't have any bad blood with OU. Just didn't work out. I'm here now. Try to win the starting job. Go from there. Because, I mean, that's honestly where you're at right now. You're trying to, it's not necessarily an image thing, but you're just trying to basically keep your career going in the right direction, unless you want to just become Peyton Thorne II. So
one thing we know about it at Oklahoma is good quarterback play, right? And the best quarterbacks that we've had at Oklahoma have been the guys that when the play breaks down, they get better. They figure out a way. They don't shrivel and boot one off their knee when nobody's about to hit them against Mizzou. They don't do shit like that.
They also, can find a wide open wide receiver and hit them.
Yeah, not be afraid to throw it.
LSU game, Missouri game, even with our limited wide receiver options, we had guys open. I mean,
that's the whole point. And I mean, if you go back to, he talked about going 3-0. That wasn't the best 3-0. If you go back and look at
that was a lousy 3-0.
Listen, I've got it right here. I'm telling you, this is crazy stuff right here because, dude, they had, what did he have? They were 5 of 15 in the Houston game on third down. They were like 1 of 11 on third down against Temple. 1 of 11. Yeah, he had 4 touchdown passes. You know how many of those drives that they had were longer than like even 40 yards, like 2.
No,
Like
I mean the Houston game was a mess.
He was a 47 QBR that game, a 57 QBR in the Temple game.
Yeah, I mean it's again, like I said, it wasn't like we were
3-0. Well, you better be 3-0 against them. Shit.
I'm like, dude, this is not. If you need to reinvent yourself, this isn't. Don't be talking crap like this. Just say, give them the Bull Durham answer. I'm just here to help the team. Not this nonsense
You should have punted
about
that away like he did you should have booted that one off his knee like he did against Mizzou. He should have just shut that one up.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Stupid.
I mean, with all the problems there, he obviously. Let's just say he was put in a really tough situation, and he did not rise to the moment.
That's absolutely true. And look, I could tell you that it's not all his fault because it was a shit show all the way around.
Yeah, but he didn't.
Hey, look, aside from that South Carolina game, and of course, against Texas, it didn't look good. But I mean, we know what the game plan was like in both of those games. But Michael Hawkins comes into the Tennessee game. He played against that same nasty D line, completed a lot of passes, made a lot of good runs, made good plays. We didn't see that one time from Jackson last year. The only good you could call it a good game against Alabama. You know why it was good? Because they didn't put the ball in his hand. He had 10 pass attempts.
He was a fullback masquerading as a quarterback. He was, and even then, I think and our defense won that game. I mean, really, X-Rob and our defense won that Bama game. That's just the reality.
Absolutely. The defense won the Bama game. The defense won, and yes, X-Rob had a great game. He had a great game.
And X-Rob had made some big plays. And
if Hawkins is in on those 2 runs where he gets, those longer runs that he had, he's in the end zone, both of those runs.
Yeah. But yeah, I just not to belabor the point, and I brought this topic up, but I just thought it was ridiculous. Like, dude, are you not learning what's going on? Are you not learning from all the problems and everything? Yeah, there was lots of problems going around, but and you needed a transfer, right? The moment we got Mateer, goodbye. But I mean, it's obvious. I mean, it's not exactly a surprise to us that the vibes this spring on offense, a lot of it's Arbuckle, but a lot of it is Mateer, just basically his leadership and him taking control. I mean, it's night and day. From what I've heard, it's night and day, right? From what they saw last spring, that everybody tried to pump up the offense and not talk about how bad the offense looked in spring. They said it was the defense and all that, but there were rumblings around this all last spring, and it was kind of the spring game put a good facade on it, but it's. I think it's just. I mean, kid, learn from your mistake, move on, take ownership, responsibility. Don't be whining about getting benched.
It is what it is.
I mean, if you're gonna get suspended and benched, at least be like do something like Rattler did in high school, right? At least have an explanation for it.
Yeah.
All right. People, let's move on to the last topic. I will say this, just throwing my 2 cents in here. Look, I know there's a lot of it's kind of wishy-washy. Some people are talking about the Sooner Combine. I thought the Sooner Combine was really good. If you're local, it's not like this year's version of it, because next year's will be totally different, I'm sure. If you're local, if you're here in state, or you're here, especially in the metro area or whatever, it was a cool event because you got to see a practice, you got to confirm some things. So I know necessarily it wasn't the greatest thing for like a lot of I guess what you would call like the average fan, but I thought it was great to see guys get good reps. Kind of what you're talking about night and day is just being able to see an actual practice, see Mateer and the offense and the defense be able to go at it, whether it's in a traditional setting or a 7-on-7 setting. So that being said, that's just kind of my 2 cents about it. We got a lot of clips I sent to you guys, and I mean that's crazy footage that we were able to get there. But Nico, Unless you live under a rock, this will be our last topic, guys. But unless you live under a rock, I'm sure that you've heard Nico Iamaleava, however you say his last name, is transferring from Tennessee to UCLA. So it's taking a pay cut, all the rest of that stuff. Yeah, all these different stories are coming out now. So with that being said, we don't have to hash that out, but the question, honestly, to me, being present-minded, did Nico screw himself? Jason?
Nico,
do we extend that to Nico's handlers and family?
Yeah, listen, I'm probably gonna have a different opinion than what a lot of people have on this one, because I am not the one to sit here and say, "Oh, thank you, Tennessee. The way to go, Josh Heupel." I ain't doing it. I'm not doing it. Just so you all understand this. And we're hearing more things the longer this goes on, which I knew would happen throughout the week, of how great they've done. You know what? This is the mess that Tennessee made.
They started all this crap.
They started all this shit because they broke the rules to get him into town. They were paying him for his whole last year of high school. So before we start, I'm not going to do all this, love the Tennessee horse shit. I'm not doing it. I don't buy it. I think it's all bullcrap. And look, do I think that he's the greatest quarterback since sliced bread? I don't. Do I think that he, did anything huge? No. I think he was a first-year player, and they went to the playoff, though. They went 10-2. No, any way you slice it. So to me, I'm just saying, look, you bring them in with, Shotty says it all the time from, just my damn opinion. He's always in here. However you get them is how you're going to lose them. And they've only been about money in that damn program for the last 3 or 4 years now. And so, and apparently it wasn't just him that went and asked for more money before the playoff game either. There was multiple guys on that team that they haven't thrown under the bus yet. Just him, right? They haven't thrown anybody else under that bus, just him. But apparently they gave in and gave him the fucking money. What do you expect for them to do now? What did you expect? I'm just saying.
Obviously his family and agents they misread the room a little bit, right? They misread his worth. And is his UCLA deal locked down yet? I was hearing it's not.
I don't think it's done yet.
Okay. I was underimpressed. Tennessee, that's a loaded roster, and Nico did well at times, but he certainly wasn't flexing like, he's a top 5 quarterback in the SEC last year. Like, if you rank the top 5 quarterbacks, Lagway looked better, right? At times, looked more explosive, looked like more of a playmaker. I think that's a reasonably fair comment. I just think it's like you said, Jason, Tennessee. Oh, you're the bastion of college football. Screw you guys. You're the ones that started. You're the ones that started all this crap with the $15 million contract, the Tennessee pajamas, and all that nonsense.
Yeah, look, before that, shit. Josh went in to replace a guy that was freaking filling up Chick-fil-A bags with cash. What the fuck are we talking about now?
I believe, as being an Atlanta resident, I believe I need to remind you that those were McDonald's bags.
I don't care what they were.
Chick-fil-A's not open on Sunday, so you can't make deals on Sunday. You can't make deals on Sunday. Some of these deals had to occur on Sunday. So a good recruiting day. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think Nico's family overestimated his value, right?
His family, and he should have showed up at practice. If he shows up at practice, we're not having this conversation right now.
No, the negotiations are still going in the background. Negotiations still going in the back, still going on. Let's make this thing work. We don't want to leave. You don't want me to leave. Now, of course, the Tennessee guys are throwing him under the bus, saying he wasn't he was not making appearances, and he wasn't doing his autographs and his autograph and his commercial appearances and that kind of stuff. So they're throwing him under the bus that way.
That's what I'm saying. But none of these other guys are getting chucked under the bus, and when they're not talking about the fact that they paid their asses before the damn bowl game, before the playoff game.
So what I absolutely love in all of this is UCLA is somehow coming. You know, his brother fucks UCLA on signing day, and now they're going to bring in his brother. It's like UCLA gets everything they should deserve. This thing blows up on them. You know, guys,
it's a shit show there too, for sure. But and I think and look, I mean, again, and you haven't heard a single bad thing from anybody about him himself. It sounds like I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything about it because I don't.
No, I don't.
We're hearing a lot of stuff. We're hearing it's the handlers, his pops, and everybody else that they're. But again, you got him this way. This is how you brought him in.
Yep.
He wasn't going to Tennessee otherwise. You got him this way. You knew, and then you taught him to do business this way. And now you're going to put your foot down and say enough is enough. You're the one that started all this, guys. You started all this, Tennessee.
You enabled this. You enabled this behavior for 2 years.
That's
now,
right. And if they really want to fix all these problems that are going on in college football, let's get to. We've talked about it a ton of times. You got to get to what? Collective bargaining. They become employees. Otherwise,
Tennessee doesn't want that, right?
You don't really want to fix it unless you want to do that.
Yeah, they don't want to fix it, but the way it went down. What's interesting is, does this make OU's game in Knoxville? Does it change that game?
Oh, I think it changes their. I didn't think that they were going to the playoff again anyway because they didn't put anybody else around him. That's another reason. Why do you blame him for wanting more money? They didn't exactly put a bunch of talent in there around him.
Jason, they're bleeding right now. I mean, they've been losing guys left and right. I think one of the more, I wouldn't say alarming or concerning. I'm sure Tennessee fans would probably differ with me and say I'm dead wrong, but I think Squirrel White losing a guy like that. I mean, that was, I know he was kind of injured a little bit.
That's a lot of writing on the wall, though, bro. You had talented receivers and they're gone.
That defense, you lost a lot of guys. You lost a running back or two. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be different. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. One thing I'll definitely highlight, I think Josh Payton, I know everybody's been running with a lot of stuff that he's been saying, but I think Josh Payton had a really interesting take on it. And then two, I thought he was for sure going to expose the industry. I thought he was dead. He was close. You could see it in his eyes. You could see it was on his mind to go ahead and start dropping more names and spitting some more gospel. But it's one of those things where, one of the comments that I heard has been going on since the Alabama game. Yeah, I mean, I could see that being true. Negotiate, your way into playing in the playoffs, and we know that's not common. I mean, that's not uncommon now. So it's just one of those things where he missed the perfect time to do all this. Meaning, as soon as they lost to Ohio State, winter workouts, all the rest of those things, it's just a simple fact that for $4 million, the production you had here, we need to make sure you're going to take a leap. And I think one thing I will say about Heupel, I think the whole not being in the program, all the rest of that stuff, that's all coach speak. I'm interested in kind of hearing.
He just plagiarized Bob Stoops, though.
And I'm not even focused on that. What I'm focusing on is I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see kind of what were their projections for him, honestly, going forward. Because I don't think that you're necessarily focused on the program, this and that, because you could very well go out there and be in the same position that OU was in last year, after they had this playoff run and all the rest of it, because, the roster, all the rest of that stuff. Again, maybe Tennessee fans.
Well, they dropped from 8.5 wins or 1 to 8.5 wins that they were at, and now they're at 7.5. So they dropped them immediately in Vegas.
So again, that's the thing to add to it. But it's just one of those things. I would love to know what was the actual projection for him, because at the end of the day, the $4 million is stiff. That's something that you want to eat. You don't want to eat necessarily on your books, because with $4 million, yeah, I can give you 2.4, but I can take that other 2 and turn that into a couple of players, probably on some premium deals, right? That players,
Yeah.
but I just would love to know exactly where they had him. Why was it so easy to let him go? Because I think it's more than on the surface level of, he was asking for too much, and then on right there below the surface level of, oh, well, he wasn't showing up to NIL agreements and this and that. Look, if the player is good enough, we know that he's going to have a longer leash. So it had to be something else that they saw, that they noticed from last year going into this season, that they felt comfortable letting him go. So that's,
I think once it got ugly, right?
Yeah.
Thursday, Nakos is calling his dad, and and his dad isn't trying to throw anybody under the bus either. And I'll say this on his behalf: his first mistake was calling him a bitch on a tweet.
Oh,
you
yeah.
should have just not said anything. You should have just stuck with what you said to him, and made the call to Tennessee and not said a word.
Yeah, no comment. Look, I'm not talking about my kid's business with you.
And then don't tell your son not to go to practice the next day. That's stupid.
Oh yeah, you were
because
seeding.
once it got loud and now the entire fan base knows about it, you should have known what they were doing at Tennessee, which they were chucking him under the damn bus.
They seeded. I'll call it the moral high ground, but it's not really. They ceded it to Tennessee. I mean, it's the immoral high ground, really. But you're exactly right, Jason. So, I mean, this is like crisis management 101 nonsense by his team, right? Like, no comment. Don't know what's going on. That doesn't sound right to me. Let me get back to you in a couple of hours. It's very simple, but don't go calling Nakos a liar when obviously Heupel's feeding Nikos the information directly.
He made a mistake.
Yeah. And then the media guys close ranks on you, right? I mean, I heard Kerry Murdoch talking about, you talked about Nakos, that was a stupid move. And he's right, because then all of the media guys say, well, you went after one of us. Well, we're going to start digging up dirt on you. Let's see who else we can get off the record.
Sheldon Terry's been having a field day with this shit, giving him raises and shit on Monday. He had him doing all that kind of shit. Terry was it.
Yeah. So it's
the worst thing he could have done. Worst thing he could have done.
Yeah. So, but it is interesting that, I mean, we've now seen, this is sort of like, we've now seen in the last 4 years, OU lose a coach and a Heisman winning quarterback, right? Which would have been unfathomable, right? And now you're seeing 5-star quarterbacks just leaving. I mean, it's not just Arnold. I mean, you've got Arnold, now Nico, and is there another one I'm not thinking of?
Okay. Question, Dante Moore.
I mean, it's a mess out there.
Yeah.
With the quarterback position in terms of trying to keep your guys. I mean, I'll be honest. I've been really concerned, and I think Mike Hawkins Sr. wants to see his kids star at OU, and I'm happy for Mike. Mike has such a great story, and his kids are doing well. But I think otherwise, I think Michael Hawkins Jr. might have been poached after. I think he
if they could move SEC to SEC, I wouldn't be surprised if he got poached right here.
Someone didn't try, and I think his dad is like, no, OU's been straight up with my kid. They love how he's developed this spring, right? Mike Hawkins Jr. had a great spring, right? There's a very good chance that Mateer leaves after 1 year. I think personally, if OU's clicking, Mateer is going to have a successful season, and the quarterback draft for next year is ass again. After Nussmeier.
If he can get to New York somehow and be a Heisman finalist, that means that we've had a damn good year.
Yeah, I mean, so I think there's a good chance that Mike Hawkins will be our starting quarterback for 2026. But I've just been sort of a little bit on pins and needles with all this stuff going on, that just with all these quarterbacks moving and everything, that, is Mike Hawkins going to hit the portal? Is someone going to have tampered and promised him a lot of money and a starting job this fall? And I think the fact that he's not, I don't think there's nothing and no indications about that. It speaks more to Mike Hawkins Sr. and his kids and how he's raised them than anything else. And I think like Arbuckle has clicked with the kid. That's what I've heard. But, you know, but if there was, like you said, if there was no inter SEC thing, yeah, I could have seen somebody from Tennessee offering Mike Hawkins $1.5 million to come transfer to Tennessee.
Absolutely.
I think, you know, kind of to put finishing final touches on this, honestly, I'd say this right here. At the end of the day, both parties involved, meaning Nico and his team and Tennessee,
no doubt,
they both should share blame simply because of the whole the PR and all the rest of that stuff. Because at the end of the day, people, this should have been handled in an exit interview. You know, talking to my aunt today on the way home, I was telling him, I was like, yeah, it's like, you know, if this is going on since Alabama and all the rest of that stuff, my exit interview, hell, he took the words right out of my mouth. He said, yeah, your exit interview is he's first person there and probably saying, hey, either we're going to have a teleconference with your mom and your dad as well involved in this, or they're going to be here in person because we need to have a heart-to-heart and really figure this out because we can't be dealing with all of this stuff because it's setting a bad precedent for everybody else, you know? And one thing I think that you got to do, you probably got to police a little bit more in-house with the collectives, meaning that, yes, maybe some of these collectives are independent or whatever, but if they're actually a part of the schools, if they're being absorbed by the schools and stuff, then you need to know, or you need to let your players know, hey, look, you come to me, to the coach, go to your you know, your position coach, or come to me directly, whichever one. Let us know. We'll all schedule to have time and have a clear conversation, opposed to players just showing up there saying, hey, I need 150,000 right now, because that's the stuff that we're hearing. Mm-hmm. And like I said, maybe we don't have a clear formula or a direct way to fix NIL, but it's little things like that that go a long way to kind of monitoring this stuff, so this stuff can stop, you know, being there. But you need clear-cut direction. I don't think either side had that.
No, again, I mean, when they started all this shit, they did. I mean, they wanted it to be the Wild West, and they got it. And now they're bitching about it. But the truth is, look, they gave in before the playoff game. That's a problem, right? That's a problem. And I get it. Yes, it was greedy. It's greedy on the side of his pops or whatever's going on. I don't know that that's all coming out of him. I think a lot of it's coming from his dad. And from what I understand, his dad hasn't even been around spring camp at all, which is why they were apparently getting along a lot better, because he wasn't at every practice anymore because they got sick of his shit. And so I think that it got to a point where they were tired of that. And so that in that part of it, I would say, yeah, you can throw as much of that part as you want on Nico and not being able to like call his dad off or any of that other kind of stuff. In the Polynesian culture, dad is in charge of shit, man. Period. End of story. That's the way it is. So it's a lot like what we talked about with some of these recruits that we've had, the Nigerian moms and stuff. The mom is in charge of shit. Period. End of story. When they speak, the family listens. It's the same thing when it comes to the men in the Polynesian homes. So you got to look at it in terms of there's a lot to it, and hopefully they'll back off now because you're hurting him. It's obvious you're hurting him. And I'm still not going to put it all off on them because I think that Tennessee brought us to this point. And now they don't want to continue with it. Well, you know what? You lose guys to the same thing that you win them with.
This is why I love where OU is right now, right? You've got Nagy. We have a real GM. We have sanity in our process. We got rigor around it in terms of how we're going to acquire players. We're not going to overpay. We're going to slot you where we think you belong. We're going to have adult conversations with your agents, your representative. They know who they should talk to. They should talk to the GM. Don't talk to the coach. Don't talk to Brent. Talk to Nagy. And we can now take Brent out of that, the emotion out of that, and just have Nagy be a businessman talking business with business representatives. And we're out of this mess because we've now got a guy who can say, "Look, I watched your kid play all last year. He's not worth $4 million, and get back to me. And he's worth 2.5. We'll stick with the original deal. Get back to me next year." And here's the things. Here's
a lot
the
of
things.
quarterbacks, though, with those numbers, they wouldn't have drug them under the bus on their numbers because they got to the playoff. And you know what? You did, and we know for sure that what has Josh become? He's become a run-first coach. He doesn't. He didn't really allow Nico to get involved or to show anything that he's got. I know that he overthrew some receivers and stuff, but all I know is that I've heard from a number of different people that they were not happy about the offense, and he promised that he was going to make changes to the offense and then didn't.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of stuff floating around. I'm just happy that we appear to have a structure and a process that will stop us from getting to these problems.
I don't think we have any other choice. I mean, BV is just about as maybe that's to his detriment sometimes. He's so damn honest. So I think that, and then kind of the soul mission being kind of connected to it, it's a lot of different variables, man.
It's a huge deal for Oklahoma right now. A huge deal.
Chris Mason, before we jump up out of here, any news on the O'Neal Bentley saga?
No, he was on campus. He was there. I'm throwing some. I need to track that down and see if I can get an updated interview with Jaden.
We had Ortez Jenkins on Monday, and we had Ortez Jenkins on Monday. It's on my channel right now, and they didn't come out and say it. They're definitely going to be, but they made it clear that they're unhappy with what's going on.
They're looking. I mean, he set up an official visit for FSU. So
yeah, we've got to cut just that part of the interview into. It's like a 20-minute video. It's on our channel, so get over there and check it out. But Ortez Jenkins is manager, former big time quarterback at Arizona. I mean, he's in their Ring of Honor.
Good guy.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed the show, and Coop and I were on when we talked about it. But the writing on the wall to me, he's out of here. There's no two ways around it.
Yeah, unless.
And so you're either going to get Bo or you're not getting either one of them.
So it's what we've been talking about the entire time, right? It just doesn't make sense. So we'll see. I'm going to reach out to Jaden and OJ and try and get an interview.
Yeah.
People, hour and 22 minutes. We had some good conversations tonight. Got some good topics in. And we learned a little bit more about the portal. Obviously, keep your ear,
Chris, real quick. What do you think about them retiring the numbers of Shador and Travis Hunter at Colorado?
Well, they did. So horrible statement here. Since I hate the 1990s Colorado Buffalo Bill McCartney teams with a passion, I hated those teams. Hate Bill McCartney. Well, they didn't retire Ray Caruth's number. So what's why are they not? Why would you retire Sanders' number?
Did you say Ray Caruth?
I just did say Ray Caruth.
Wow.
Wow. That's how much I hate the Colorado. But do whatever you want. I mean, Hunter, sure. He won the Heisman.
Hunter, sure. I mean, and I like Shador. I think he's good.
Well, I think he's a good quarterback, but I think it's a little early to retire his number.
They won 9 games. Come on.
Yeah, well, exactly, but
they didn't retire Cordell Stewart's number. They didn't retire Rashawn Salam's number is not retired.
Oh, it must be, isn't it?
No. And they don't retire. You know why they don't do that? Because it's fucking college football. You don't retire college football numbers. That's why. Because you got 150 kids.
I mean, if we retired the guys we'd be down like 20 numbers, right?
I ain't saw nobody trying to rock 28 at OU. So.
Well, exactly. I mean,
Danny Stutzman he wore it pretty well.
No, I'm talking about running back wise.
Nah, you don't really see it anymore. I agree.
After Alex Ross tried to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the last running back, right? But yeah, I mean,
How much did that guy play?
Yeah, okay, all right. Hit a big kickoff return here or there. I don't know. It's the quarterback. I think the quarterback thing's debatable. Hunter's your first Heisman winner since Salam, and before that, the first one since Whizzer White or whatever, the Supreme Court justice.
They've got as many Heismans as Texas, don't they?
Well, Texas has what?
Like 2, I think.
Well, no. They've got.
I'm pretty sure it's 2.
Is it 2?
I think so.
It can't be. I mean, did Earl Campbell not win one?
Nope.
Guys, let's hour 25 minutes.
The brand has finally returned. F your brand.
So hour 5, we've been on here. Like I said, good topics, good discussion, all the rest of those things. Horse Down Podcast, Sooners 360, Hall of Fame College Football Podcast with Jason and links are in the bio right underneath this video. So click, subscribe, share, do all those different things to the channels. Like this video. If any news breaks, whatever the case may be, and we think that is definitely worthy, we will be back. So with that being said, people, we are out.